Lift me up and hold me for a while. Love me like a mother's only child. Love me like a father's only child. Love me just like I'm your only child.
Oh, that was so beautiful. Thank you. And so I'd like to welcome this morning Nancy O'Neill. She's our prayer practitioner in service to us all today.
Thank you, Brenda. So let us just let go of everything and enter into the consciousness of prayer. And so just knowing all that God is. Most of all, God is life. And it is surrounding us. And it is within us. And we see it in that way that God is, in the beauty, in the love, in the joy, in the peace, in the power, and most of all in the love that God is. And so in knowing all of that, we know as we are unified in the one mind, that whatever all that is all of us. It's what I am. It's what you are. And so this morning, we come together. We come together to remember that, to remember who we are at our innermost level, that we are really these divine expressions of the one. And so in knowing that, I know that this time together, even though we feel somewhat separate because we're physically not together, but we are mentally, we are emotionally, we are that one mind. So we are together. There is unity here. And unity in how I speak and how you speak and how we remember. And so just in knowing that, I know that this service unfolds perfectly, that it too is in a divine expression of God's being. And so we just take this time to settle in and take in the words that are spoken today from our guest minister, Laura, and the music, and just the time to be together on a screen and be grateful for that. And so just in deep gratitude for all of this time, for who we are, and for our beloved center. I just let it go. I let it be, as we say together, and so it is. So this morning's reading, this morning's special reading, is from Ernest Holmes, and it says, I bestow the essence of love. And love is fulfilling of the law, which is Romans 13:10. Love is the fulfillment of the law. That is, we never can make the most perfect use of the law unless that use is motivated by love, by a sincere desire to express unity, harmony, and peace. As true artists wed themselves to the essence of beauty, imbibing its spirit that they may transmit it to the canvas, so we must wed ourselves to the essence of love, that we may imbibe it and transmitting it, give loveliness to all events. We should not hesitate to express our appreciation for people, things, and events. There is too little enthusiasm about life. I now rejoice in living. All my sorrows, unhappiness, and regrets are definitely and quietly subjected to the transmuting quality of love. Divine love never remains abstract, but in a vital and dynamic manner molds every aspect of experience. As I accept the action of love in my life, I bestow the essence of love upon everything. This love is a healing power, touching everything into wholeness, healing the wounds of experience with its balm. With enthusiasm and joy, I embody love in my thoughts and acts, and the perfect action of the law makes love manifest in my experience. Everything is beautiful and meaningful as I accept and express love in every way. So I invite Jesse and Jenny to come back with one more song.
They met up down on Main Street at the old Red Dog Saloon way back in the spring of '74. Spent late nights cruising back roads in his Pontiac GTO. Little did he know she'd be his cornerstone. First was born in a snowstorm on a brisk October day, way back in the fall of '79. The second one came in the summertime of 1981. Little did they know she'd be their cornerstone. Cornerstone, cornerstone. Mama, she's the strongest rock of all. She'll smile again. Shining in the light of a harvest moon, wrapped up tight in the arms of her groom. Her light will never fade, this I know. When it's time for her to fly way back home, my cornerstone, my cornerstone, my cornerstone, my cornerstone. She was blessed with 3 grandbabies that loved her oh so well. She always gave them all the time she could to teach them all the good things, and especially how to love. Little did they know she'd be their cornerstone. Cornerstone, cornerstone. Mama, she's the strongest rock of all. She'll always be there smiling. She'll always be there smiling. My cornerstone.
That was lovely. Thank you once again. And so now I'd like to welcome our guest speaker this morning, Laura Arneson. And Laura, I don't have a bio for you, so if you would maybe just introduce yourself briefly. Thank you.
Okay, I sent it to Joaquin, but that's all right. So good morning, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here with you today. And as Brenda said, my name is Laura Arneson, and I am a practitioner at the Center for Spiritual Living Reno. I've been a practitioner there for about 10.5 years now, and a member there for, gosh, I don't know, since 1991. I am a ministerial student at the Holmes Institute, and I will graduate next June, in June of 2021. So that's exciting, and just spent the day yesterday in class, and so really enjoying my learning process there. I've lived in Reno for about over 45 years. I am also an elementary school teacher in Reno, and I have a daughter that lives in Austin, Texas with her wife. And so it is just really my pleasure to be with you today. And so Joaquin, if you want to share the first slide. So the title of the series that Reverend Pam and Centers for Spiritual Living have been focusing on for the month of May has been Listen to Your Heart. And in listening to our heart, we are tuning into what that purpose is, what our purpose in the world is, and what that looks like for us, and how we can hear that calling, and how we know what is ours to do. So Joaquin, if you want to go to the next slide. So as I said, the theme is my life is the life of the divine made manifest. Spirit works, oops, just a sec. Spirit works through me in the world. These hands are the hands of God. What is mine to do? What actions am I to take to live my call and my life's purpose? And if we can go to the next slide. So I love this quote by Saint Teresa of Avila, and it just seems to exemplify this idea that our life is the life of the divine and made manifest in the world, and that Spirit works through each of us, through our hands, through our actions, and even more exactly through our consciousness. And so it says, Christ has no body now but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes through which he looks with compassion on this world. Yours are the feet with which he walks to do good. Yours are the hands through which he blesses all the world. Yours are the hands, yours are the feet, yours are the eyes, yours are his body. Christ has no body now on earth but yours. And of course, when we speak of the Christ, we're not speaking of that separate person outside of ourselves, but we are speaking of that Christ consciousness, that illumination and awareness that we are one with Spirit, that there is no separation between the presence and the power of the divine, that we are the ones here on earth that Spirit is expressing through. And so our hands, Joaquin, you can just come back to the full screen of people. There you go. Sorry, I'm not used to having to tell somebody to switch. Our hands symbolically represent what we bring into the world, because we know that, of course, our hands don't think of by themselves, right? That it's our faith and our beliefs, our values, our understanding of who we are in relationship to others and to our world, our understanding of who we are in relationship to spirit and to that divine source within our being. And so I really believe that at this time we are called to move to a place of real inner authority and be very conscious and intentional about the way in which we bring our gifts into the world, to make sure that we are coming from that place of love, coming from that place of purpose and intention for the greatest good of all. And so we can go to the next slide, Joaquin. Ernest Holmes said that anything that will enable us to express greater life, greater happiness, greater power, so long as it does not harm anyone, must be the will of God for us. And again, we do not believe that the will of God is outside of us. The will of God is that passion in our heart, that calling of our soul that draws us forward into expression. And I think the key here is that Spirit wants us to live from that place of a greater degree of livingness, to express to our fullest. And yet it is not our place to desire or want to bring harm upon anyone. And so there is no purpose that we would be called to or guided to by the presence of love that ever would intentionally harm anyone. And Joaquin, we can go back to the congregation. And so over the last 9 weeks, as we have been sheltering in place, or as a friend of mine likes to say, sheltering in grace, we have seen many acts of kindness and service. We have seen people who have converted their businesses to be able to make masks and medical supplies that have been needed so greatly by those on the front lines working in hospitals, medical personnel, and nurses and doctors. We've seen people with restaurants that are closed use their kitchens to create meals for those in the medical profession, those who are working so hard to take care of all of those who have a direct illness connected to the coronavirus. We have seen people who have raised funds. That sweet little man in Yorkshire who turned 100 years old, and in celebration of his birthday, he got out there with his little walker and he did 100 laps around his garden and raised $15 million for the medical system in England. And so there are people who, through this crisis, this pandemic, we have seen an outpouring of humanity, an outpouring of good that has come forward. People are using their hands and their hearts to support one another, to lift one another up. Scientists in our country and all over the world are working day and night to find a vaccine, so all of us can go back to feeling really safe and able to move around our world. And yet, this last week has been very disheartening and discouraging and saddening for all of us. The New York Times printed 1,000 names on the front page of their paper representing 1% of the 100,000 people who have lost their lives to the coronavirus. Each of those names is not simply a name or a number. It is a person that represents a life, a family that is grieving, and perhaps didn't get to say goodbye to their loved ones. It is an individual expression of God who had their own dreams and their own purpose and passions and desires. And so I don't know about you, but the sheer magnitude of that is just almost incomprehensible to me. And it's amazing how in the span of 10 weeks, that many lives can be lost. And I think one thing that this coronavirus has taught all of us is how interconnected we really are. And I, for one, am grieving over this loss. And not that I know how it is to lose somebody close to me, because I haven't lost anybody to this illness close to me. And I can't imagine how those people are feeling. But I think our whole country is in a place of grieving, is in a place of feeling the loss of our freedom and an innocence around our ability to move about our world and know that we're safe. I mean, we never have thought about being in the proximity of others, and we would never want to intentionally cause them harm. And yet here's this invisible virus that we can spread so easily. And then this last week, we had the very sad, senseless loss of George Floyd. And it is said that protest is an expression of grief. And what I know is that people are in pain, and perhaps you are feeling it yourself. Everybody is dealing with this in their own way. But people want things to change. People want the senselessness of racism and separation to end and to stop. And there is a sense of helplessness and anger that is rising up, not only for people of color, but all people, of how have we unknowingly contributed to the harm of others. And the question of, how can this be God? Where is God in all of this? And so what I know is what we believe in the science of mind. And you can show the next slide, Joaquin. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. Whoops, I don't know if it's the next one or if we skipped one. There we go. Did I miss that one, or maybe I put it after? Is it the next one? That's okay. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal living kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. And so I believe that we live in a universe of goodness, a universe of loving kindness, and that this eternal givingness of life, that the life that we have been, that essence, that soul, that God expression that we are, it has been given to all. But sometimes that's hard to see, because we have free choice. We have the right to express and to create our lives in the ways that we desire. And yet the truth is that not everybody in our country has the same freedom to do that, or the same opportunities. And so Ernest Holmes also says in The Creative Mind and Success that we must always remember this: life is from within outward. And Nancy spoke to this in her meditation and in her reading, and never from without inward. So everything that we see outward has its inception, its beginning within our consciousness. And so it can be really easy we have these things that happen in our world, and we are initially saddened by them, and or angry about them, and we respond, and perhaps we come together and we say we're going to change, or we don't even know how to be a part of that change. And then our lives happen, and we go back to our daily routines, and we sort of forget. And that's not mean-spirited in any way. We all just have our own communities and our own environments and responsibilities and things to do. And so I think that it's just want to plant that seed that how can we not forget? What can we do? What is ours to do to be agents of change and transformation so that all people have the same equal benefit of creating the life that they desire to live and feel safe within our country. So there is a parable told by Matthew in the Bible, and it's called the parable of the wheat and the tares. And in this parable, Jesus says, "He that soweth good seed is the Son of Man, and the field is the world." Now, the reference to the Son of Man means the individual mind with its thoughts and processes. So where each are the Son of Man, our mind is the Son of Man. And we have the blessing to plant the seeds of good, the seeds that we desire, love and peace and loving kindness, and all of the things that we so desire in our lives, those good seeds in the field of our consciousness. And we are each like a farmer who must tend to the fields of our mind. So I think of my father, who is a gardener and has planted a garden for as long as I can remember. And he plants his zucchini and corn and tomatoes and all these things that he wants to plant, and he has this beautiful bounty. But in the process of bringing that bounty to harvest, he has to tend to his garden. He tends to it by pulling the weeds, by diligently paying attention to what grows that doesn't belong there, that could choke the life out of the good things that he does want to bless his family with, all these beautiful vegetables. And so if we think of our minds as a field, and our necessity to diligently mind our fields, to pull the weeds, to clear out what we don't want to be there, through our spiritual practices, through prayer, through meditation, through spiritual study, through being in like-minded community, through practices of forgiveness and loving kindness. And so even when we practice these, and even when we pull the weeds, there still is this abundance that comes, and who knows where they come from, whether it's the birds or the wind or whatever brings all these other things that grow in our garden within our mind. And we have to still be mindful of those things that can come in. And some of the things that can come into our consciousness, things like hate or grief or defeat or disappointment. And they can enter through a disagreement with a coworker or somebody in our family. They can enter through the crisis of this pandemic or the death of this young man. There are all different ways that these weeds can become implanted in our mind. And so it is really important for us to stand at the gates of our consciousness. The parable then goes on to say that while the men slept, the enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. So how are we like these men that slept? Well, when we fall asleep, it is when we are not guarding the gates of our mind, of our consciousness. When we become indifferent or complacent, when we're allowing the real enemies, because of course we don't believe in an outside power that's going to come in and put anything upon us. There's no devil that's going to do things to us. But the real enemy is the beliefs in limitation or failure, the beliefs in separation, inferiority, or superiority. So it is ours to mind the field of our consciousness and to pull out these weeds that could cause us to act in ways that are not for the highest and greatest good of ourselves or others. Because remembering that it is from within that we express outwardly. And just as this virus can be so easily spread from person to person, even though we can't see our thoughts and our beliefs, they spread just as easily. And we may have a thought of hatred or a thought of resentment and think that it doesn't affect anybody. But how does that outpicture in our greater society as a part of the group mind that we see expressing through the frustration and grief of riots? So I just ask us today to remember to tend our minds, to tend to the fields of our consciousness, to remember to forgive and practice loving kindness, to remember not to pass judgment, and not to beat ourselves up when we find those things in our consciousness, but just to be curious and to look and choose again, intend again about what we really want to be, the way that we bring our expression through our hands, through our eyes, through our ears, through who we are into the world, to respond rather than to react. Tracy Brown, who is a leader within the Centers for Spiritual Living organization, did a TED Talk several years ago, and she was talking about the Charleston shootings that had just occurred. And she was reporting for jury duty and imagining that if she had to serve on a jury for this young man who had just taken these lives of people of color. And Tracy Brown is also an African-American woman. And she was trying to imagine what that would be like if she had to be on the jury for this white man, or if it had been a young Black man who had been the person who had taken the life of others. And she realized that she had tears streaming down her face when another man who was waiting to be called for jury duty said, "Is there anything I can do to help you? What can I do to support you?" And it took her a moment to think about what he could do. And she said, "You can stand up. You can be a voice for love, for all people of color." And this extends to all genders, to all races, to all religious beliefs. We are all children of God, one in the mind and the heart of God. And so let's have our hands and the acts, the things that we do in the world, come from a place of intention and love. And so now I'd like to go into prayer. I recognize the infinite presence and power, that one life of God, knowing that this is the only truth, that God is love, God is peace, God is oneness. And that no matter where I look, no matter what I see or hear, God is there. In every person, in every animal, throughout our Mother Earth, in every plant, there is only God. And in knowing this, I recognize that I am one with this presence. I am a beloved child of God. And as I know this truth for myself, I know it for each one here in this service. I know it for everybody in our city. I know it for everybody in our country, in our state, in our world, on our planet. For all people of color, for all races and creed, for people from all religions, all languages, all genders. In the eyes of God, there is only the one, and there is unconditional love for all. There is no separation. And so I speak this word, knowing that we are all inspired to act from that place of a loving intention, to turn within and listen to what is ours to do from a place of informed, divine wisdom, so that we are able to show up in our communities, in our homes, in our workplaces, wherever we are, from that place of loving kindness, from that place of oneness, from that place of being a blessing and allowing the Christ to move through each of us into our world. And I just bless all of those who have lost their lives. I bless George Floyd, I bless his family, and I bless all who are touched by this event, knowing that there is love and light that surrounds each and every one. And I don't say that lightly or flippantly, because I know that this is the truth of God, and it is right where everyone is, and that there is this flicker within every heart, this candle within every heart that turns to this truth and allows it to illuminate their lives and their consciousness, raising us all up to a greater, fuller, richer, blessed expression of life for everyone, for all, everywhere. And so for this, I am so grateful for the infinite, magnificent presence of the divine, grateful for the graciousness of perfectly manifested prayer. And I simply release my word into the law, knowing that it is done, that the Spirit says yes, and I allow it to be. And so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Thank you, Laura. That was so beautiful and so relevant. And so now is the time where we practice our prosperity consciousness for our community. And Joaquin, if you would bring up the affirmation. And if you will, read along with me while your microphones remain muted. If you have a gift that's going in the mail, or just holding your gift in consciousness and place it over your heart, I gratefully and joyfully share my offering, which flows from God, my infinite source. My gift blesses this center and all who are guided, healed, and empowered by its activities. All I share with life returns to me blessed and multiplied. That's how it is.
That's how it is.
And, Joaquin, if you would bring that. So the Center for Spiritual Living, Tahoe-Truckee, relies on your community contributions to continue spreading positive messages during this challenging time. And we understand that some people may not be able to share as much as normal, so we're grateful for those who can and do share with our center. Creative new ways to send your gifts include mailing us checks or donating online, or on our website, which is tahoecsl.org. And you can use PayPal or a credit card. And we're very, very grateful for your ongoing support of our community. And now we'll have our offertory song, which is God is My Source by Karen Drucker.
Okay.
God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source.
Thank you, Joaquin. And so I gather in all of these virtual expressions of our prosperity consciousness, and I recognize that this outpouring of love comes into our community, and it blesses, it heals, and it touches all who come in contact with it. And I know that it multiplies as it goes through our community out into the greater world to do good and to spread joy and to heal. And I am so grateful for this. I allow it to be, and so it is.
And so it is.
And so now we have some announcements. Joaquin, I think you have a slide with announcements, yes? So first of all, one of the huge blessings of being virtual in our celebrations is that we can invite our friends and family who are flung far and wide to join us because now physical distance is no obstacle. So do invite your friends and family to join our Sunday talks on Zoom. You can just forward the constant contact to them so they have the link. And we have some exciting talks and music planned in June. We will begin our new series on mindfulness for Mavericks. And next week, Reverend Pam Brandman will be back, and our musician will be Callie Hansen, and Carol Delbon will be the practitioner. Also, YouTube videos of our Sunday services are uploaded to our Facebook page, our website, and our YouTube channel by Monday each week. So if there's a week when you're unable to join us on Sunday, you can check in on the service on Monday on YouTube channel. In accordance with the governor's directive for everyone to stay home, our office is still closed until further notice. You can still call or email the office and leave a message. And then I want to remind everyone that the practitioners are still leading a daily meditation Monday through Saturday mornings on Zoom at 8:30. And the link to that Zoom is on the constant contact each week, but it's way down at the bottom, so you'll have to scroll all the way down. Prayer, inspirational reading, meditation, and a time for check-in. This is a great way to start your day inspired, calm, and peaceful. We could all use that. Okay, now we have a new class starting on Thursday, June 25th at 10 a.m. It's a 10-week certified class called Self-Mastery, and I will be facilitating that class. And to register, you can email or you can call the center, or you can call me or Reverend Pam. So this class, Self-Mastery, the prerequisite is foundations or the equivalent of foundations. And self-mastery is where we really get into the depth of practicing the science of mind in our lives. It's very powerful, and I hope that you will join us, because this is one of those classes that, like a balloon, once it's expanded, it never goes back to the same shape as it was before. This is one of those. So please give me or Reverend Pam a call if you have any questions and to register. Mary McEnany and Penny Scholar's meditation class is online Thursdays. So you'll contact Mary for the Zoom link. This week, Friday evening class, that was that has passed. Let's see here. The Course in Miracles meets on Saturday mornings with Ned. And let's see, Joaquin, let's see, do you have the Cozy Couch series slide you can bring up?
No.
Okay. All right. I think that it is in the Constant Contact, the Cozy Couch series, where you can access these fabulous concerts that are being offered. And it's such a gift from our greater community to us to help us stay connected and with the uplifting joy of music. Let's see, there's lots going on to support you, so we encourage you to invite your family and your friends to participate in Sunday service, daily meditations, and classes. They might be local or far away, but you can always call me or one of our practitioners for support. We are available. We love to pray with you, and so don't hesitate to call. And all of us are extraordinarily available these days. Also, if you would like to speak with a practitioner after the service, stay on, and Joaquin can put us in a private Zoom breakout room for a short one-on-one spiritual mind treatment with one of our practitioners. And today we have Nancy O'Neill, myself, I think Rick Carney is here. I saw him. Carol Delbon is here, and Shirley Clark. I might have lost Rick, but Carol, Shirley, Nancy, and myself are here and available. Okay, so our closing song is The Face of God, Joaquin. Hello, Joaquin. I can't hear you. Okay. You're not muted, but I can't hear you. Okay.
We could sing anyway.
But we can. That is not my gift. So anyone who would like to lead us a cappella in the face of God, please unmute your microphone and lead us.
Jesse and Jenny, did you have another song? Or I think you're supposed to sing now, aren't you? Yeah, so we'll listen to Jesse and Jenny.
Yes,
Perfect.
please.
Do that. That sounds good.
Thank you.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, in the shadows of this life of gone, I'll fly away like a bird from prison walls is flown. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by night. I'll fly away. Oh, how glad and happy when we meet. I'll fly away. No cold iron, no shackles on my feet. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by night. Oh, just a few more weary days and then I'll fly away to a life where joy shall never end. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, bye bye. I'll fly away. Oh, when I die. Hallelujah, bye bye. I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away, fly away.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jesse and Jenny.
Thanks for having us. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Do we have a closing
Okay.
affirmation?
Is there a closing affirmation?
I think we have lost contact with Joaquin.
Ah, that could be. I
Yeah.
think I have. Let me see if I can find that slide if you want
Was
to
it-
wait a minute.
Sorry, I didn't write it down.
That's all right. Let me see if I can find it.
You know, I just wanted to say to Jesse and Jenny, that song "I'll Fly Away" is a song that is sung at memorial services in many Black communities. And I've heard that whenever anybody hears that song, they know that someone has passed away anyway. And I think that was so appropriate for today. So thank you so much for playing that. And I
Laura-
think Joaquin's frozen.
Yeah, Laura, you're a co-host. Can you enable down under security? Can you enable screen sharing of participants?
Yeah, I brought it up. I think I can share it.
Oh, perfect.
You want me to share it?
Yes.
So we can all join together in saying this affirmation. Love guides my hands in divine right action.
Thank you, Laura,
You're welcome.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you, Laura, so much.
Thank you.
You're
That was so
welcome. It's
beautiful.
my pleasure.
Beautiful
Very
talk today.
relevant.
I enjoyed being with all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll have to come back when I can be in your building and meet all of you in
Yes.
person.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was also wonderful to have Flavor of Tahoe with Jesse and Jenny here.
I know. I love their group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. That was fun.
Thanks.
And I know you have a lot of fans in our center. They were so excited when they heard you were coming. So yeah,
Maybe you can come back again.
yes, yeah.
Hi, Jerry. Nice to see you.
Bye. Thank you guys again.
Bye.
Hi, Laura. What class were you in yesterday?
Metaphysical